We have to continue to grow, taking great care of our clients, taking great care of our people.
Today, my guest is the CEO of the Alera Group, Jim Blue. Jim, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, Al. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to have you today. Let's start back a little bit in memory lane. Obviously, you built one of the best employee benefit firms in the United States, definitely East Coast at that time. And it was unbelievable. You had such a great business, Jim, and you were such a great guy. And you know, Phil, your partner, Phil Litos, another great guy, and just the whole team. That I was so excited to get that assignment because you had a marquee business. It was a marquee. You built a hell of a business, and I was excited at that time in my life. I think it was, probably that was that year, 2008. I think it might have been when that Super Bowl, 2007, 2008, the beginning of 8. Right. Yeah. The world was getting crazy. The stock market was crashing and everything else. And, you stuck with me. We did the work. And we were able to, get you a deal and secure a deal with the Marsh Agency, great company, in 2010.
Yep.
Okay. And a lot had evolved because at that time, my partner, Richard Noyan, had left, who's now, the CEO of World. And he did a podcast with me a couple of weeks ago. And he had left. And, Richie. He actually stayed on, Richie, to make sure that he oversaw the deals that he was still on, even though he had left and he went to Frankel to finish your deal in 2010. And that's how it all started. It was amazing. What a great run that was. And now look where we are.
You were kind enough to connect us with a bunch of people, but you're absolutely right. The MMA fit for us at that time was dynamite. Dave Eslick and Ben Newman, terrific, just really good people. And I have to put a shout out to my other partners too, in addition to Phil, which was Pete Pedro, Chris Delory, and Joe DeRigo. And I just remember, we all had a couple of dinners together to get to know each other, and it all went great.
And I think, Jim, you had a pretty long run at MMA, and you became a regional guy, if I'm not mistaken, to them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And rightfully so, because you're a born leader and whatnot. And I think, I'm trying to figure out when I got the phone call that you were leaving MMA. Was that 2020?
2018.
2018. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So 2018. So you were there for a good 8 years. I got a phone call one day from you. You said, Al, I'm thinking that I'm moving out of MMA. My contract's up and, I want to get back in the game, as you said, because you were a public company now. You want to get back in the game. And I said, okay, I'll call you back. 5 minutes, I called you back because I called Ryan Clark of Genstar, who I had, worked with through the Acrisure deal, the Acrisure recapitalization and the management buyout. And he now was the one that, got us involved in Alera. Right after Acrisure, within 2 months, he invested in Alera and, kind of said to me, Al, I want you to invest, which we did. We're initial investors in Alera, myself, Mike Fletcher, my partners, and Ray Somerville. The one thing I thought they needed was another person in right underneath Al. And I called Ryan Clark and I said, Ryan, I got a guy I'm going to send out to San Francisco to meet you. And I want you to make him the number 2 guy. So I sent you out. I called you back. I said, I want you to go out and meet this guy, Ryan Clark from Genstar. And you're like, okay, what's it all about? I said, I told him I want you to him to make you the president of Alera. It evolved into exactly that. They made you the number 2 guy, the president. And now you become the heir apparent. And since, I guess the beginning of this year, correct?
Correct.
You've been officially the new CEO. And look, Alan's a great guy and he did a great job. And, Alan, I felt that you were going to add one layer that was needed there that was missing. No disrespect to anyone else there. And now you're sitting at the top of the mountain with Alera. And, Ryan Clark to this day says to me, Al, I give you all the credit for bringing Jim. And I don't want to take all the credit, but it's unbelievable how this all evolved.
Yeah, it was crazy. And you have it right. I remember flying out to San Francisco, and of course I did a little bit of homework on Ryan, but I did not know him. And we met at a kind of a breakfast cafe type place, and we just hit it off. And we talked about the business, and we talked about you. We talked about where things are going. And then he said, hey, you really need to meet Alan. Alan's the guy that would be making the, kind of the final decision, if you will. So I met with Alan at Logan Airport in Boston, and he was in between flights. And then I met a whole bunch of Alera people in Hartford, Connecticut, like literally 12 or 13 one day. I count myself as very fortunate. I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to Ryan, grateful to Alan, Billy Corrigan, who I knew from the MMA days, but people don't believe it. But I didn't talk to Billy before I talked to Ryan and Alan. I really didn't. But once I did talk to Alan, I talked to Billy, and he was like, hey, this is, he loved it. He goes, this is great over here. I hope it works out. And fortunately, it did, and here we are. 8 years later, it just keeps moving.
And Alera has been a great story in its own right, because that was birthed out of the Benefit Advisory Network. So Rob Lieblein had called Mike Fletcher and I and said, hey, and Rob was at one of our competitors at the time, and he said, hey, I'm doing this. What do you guys think? And I'm thinking, he's saying he's going to get like 24 guys out of this Benefit Advisory Network, and we're going to start. And I'm thinking it's hard to put two guys together, right? So I give Rob a lot of credit for the idea, and I give a lot of credit to even getting it done. And once he got it done, what people don't know, probably they know now, is when Ryan Clark came in, he called us because we took Ryan out of Acrisure on November of 2016, okay? We did the management buyout when I brought Avery into Acrisure, and Ryan stayed in for a little piece, but he immediately in January of 2017 invested in Alera, and he called me up and said, Al, did a great job for me with Acrisure. He says, I want you involved in this thing in Alera. I didn't even know what it was. And then I said, wait a minute, I think Rob Lieblein called me on this like months earlier, and I was thinking, wow. And he actually pulled it off. Alan obviously was one of the 20 some odd ones that was part of it, and he was the biggest one. He became the CEO, and I got to meet Alan, and we invested. We put a good sum of money into it, and got aligned with Genstar and the Alera management team, and it was a great run. I think like you told me, about 1.6 billion. That first tranche of the Benefit Advisory Network folks were about 150-ish. Maybe a little under that, a million. Now this thing's 1.6 billion, so it's tenfold of what it was in about 8 years. Like you said, 8 years, give or take. It started in 17. Here we are in 25. It's been a great run and amazing. You're now at the top seat of Alera. It's been a great run in the last 8 years. I'm sure the folks out there would love to hear about Alera, what your game plan is, short-term, long-term, and how you see the future.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll tell you what, I think it's so important to just spend a couple minutes, if you don't mind, on the Alera story. I give such credit to the founders, all of them, because and there's too many to name, right? It's 24 firms, and it's Rob, it's Peter Marathis, it's a bunch of people, and I wasn't there, so I can give the credit where credit is due, and that is they put together a heck of a business plan, and their whole idea was, hey, look, we want to be independent, we want to see if we can grow and do better things together. And they're big believers, and we are big believers in collaboration and the collaborative way in particular. But that launch, you're right, it was amazing that it happened. And I didn't understand what was going on there early. I saw the name a little bit here and there, but I didn't know until I got much closer. And then what was also equally amazing is the story resonated with so many, especially entrepreneurial firms that still wanted to be in the game. They still wanted to grow. And so Rob and his team, Alan and Rob were like sidekicks for years and years. They would go and have lots of, meetings with firms, and they had criteria in their mind. They told the story. They said, look, independence and entrepreneurialism is really important to us. Collaboration is important to us. And we want like-minded, people who want to come and join us. And wow, did that ever explode? Now, I'm sure you saw the original game plan, or the original vision was to, get to about 400 million of revenue, after 5 years, drop the mic. Hey, let's have a party. Heck, they got there way faster than that. So when I came on board in 18, they were about 250 million. I came on board May of 18, 250 million. You fast forward to today, it's a little under $1.6 billion. And I go, a tenfold, like you said, a tenfold increase. And I'm equally as excited about the new chapter, because really we're out to prove that we're better together. That we're a unified, integrated Alera Group is going to be a fast, nimble, strong, high-performing organization. So the themes inside of the company now, which Alan was very much a part of last year into the transition this year, is about being able to work better together. We've had to do some structural things like regens and bringing together systems and all that, which I know this podcast is not, it's not all about that, but it's also about bringing people together and be able to do, frankly, better for our clients, right? So if we work better together inside of Alera Group, we're going to do a great job for each other as colleagues, but we're going to do an even better job for our clients. And that's the game plan. The game plan right now, keep it simple. What do we want to do? Concentrate on organic growth. We want to continue M&A, albeit a bit more strategic, if you will. And then third is operational excellence. We do those three things, just pay attention to the basics. We're going to continue to perform. And frankly, we'll continue to soar. And that's what we're really excited about.
I think the evolution is interesting because it was done quickly. Everyone seems to have the same blueprint and has the same results that everybody exceeded, at least the ones that have grown pretty significantly, much faster than their original game plan, which is no different here. And, Alera's attracted some very good firms and very good people, and a lot of different ways to grow the business, not just through the acquisition, but and some interesting things in their model to how to do things through the acquisitions with the points of interest for getting other people involved that weren't shareholders, and some really unique things that really differentiated Alera. So the interesting thing now is as you're positioned where you are, you're of a certain scale, right? And you've been seeing what's going on in the marketplace. And some of your, let's call peer groups, have, come to a point where they're trying to make their next move. They got a little bit surprised, I think, by some of the things they saw. Okay, meaning that now what's happening is when you get to a certain size, okay, to stay private is very difficult. Okay, you have to, it's hard to get another institutional investor on their own. You need multiple ones to stay private, and multiple guys have done it, but the world has changed. A lot of it has to do with the interest rates and whatnot, okay, because money's more expensive and so on and so forth. And to get to a certain size and then try to go public, if you're not preparing for years in advance to do that, you're not just going to go public. So people talk about optionality, but optionality when you get to the scale that you are at is kind of limited. There's not as much optionality as what we're seeing. It's not like, hey, we're going to take another turn with another investor and stay private and still get a huge value for our shareholders. We see that there's been a roadblock there for certain players, good ones too, real good firms. And they weren't really prepared to go to go public. Okay. And now you're at a crossroads, now maybe some of these, strategic or publics are now, looking at this as the alternative for themselves, to go with some of them. What do you think, without giving me any specifics of the secret sauce? I'm not trying to put a gun to your head here, but what do you think Alera's next move as you do those three things?
Well, look, it's a fair question, but honestly, you're right. It is about optionality. And so therefore, we want to be able to have choices. Alera Group was born to become an independent, large, high-performing organization to have options, right? We want to make sure that we have options and we don't put ourselves in a corner and then, frankly, we don't have options, right? You know how that can be if you don't perform well. So I would start by saying performance opens doors. So that's why I started with organic growth. Concentrate on sales, concentrate on high retention, and then you're able to go out to the marketplace and raise capital if you need it. Yes, it's different than what the capital looked like before, right? It's not going to be one PE that's going to come in. We're too big for that type of thing. IPO, of course you want to be able to go IPO, but you need to be able to be integrated. You need to be able to be set up in order to be able to do that. So you have to get prepared for that as well. And then the third is staying very close to your, let's call it medium to medium large competitors, where you have conversations about maybe there's some things that could happen together as well. And look, I just covered a lot of territory, right? Because at the moment, we're not looking to do any of the three. We're looking to prepare to do any of the three, which is why I underline all the time, we have to be able to perform. And if we perform, then those doors remain open. But Al, you and I know this as well as anybody, you better than me. If you can't do those things, then not all of those three doors are open to you. Agree?
100%. And well, very well said. So, you're very fortunate, and I'm not saying this against anyone else, is you have one of the most smartest, in my opinion, private equity leaders behind you in Genstar and Ryan Clark. Very, very high on Genstar and Ryan Clark. We've done a lot of things together. And I know Ryan, sees the future always. So, you have good leadership there, and you certainly have a good leadership team at Alera. But you're exactly right. No longer does that decentralized model work. Okay, it has to be an integrated model driven by organic growth. Everyone knows you're acquiring. The fact that you're being much more strategic acquirer right now, okay, which, we're very aware of that. Sica Fletcher, leaders in the space and doing the transactions. And, Alera is certainly, kind of went in a little bit of a different direction as far as M&A is concerned, as far as what your appetite's going to be. And that's fine, because I do think you are doing the right things to prepare for that optionality. I think that was very well said on your part, Jim, that, the things that others didn't do to prepare for that optionality, they were just thinking that it was still what was going on over the last 3, 4, 5 years, that, hey, you just go out there and there'll be a deal. But definitely at the independent level or the private level, those larger institutions or investors are resetting things. And that's what people have run into. It's not a disinterest in the space, as people thought, that the money guys were disinterested. They love the insurance brokerage space, no matter what anybody says. It just was, now they took advantage of finally kind of resetting things, and certain folks were not prepared for the optionality.
I agree, Al. And, thank you for mentioning, obviously, Genstar and Ryan. I have to also put a plug in for our other private equity partner, which is Flexpoint Ford out of Chicago. Now, not only are they smart guys and good people, and they have a significant investment in Alera Group, but this is what's really important. They brought us together, along with the Genstar folks, with Propel. And you remember the Propel insurance deal, October of 21. October 20. Now, why was that so critical? Well, first of all, good people, really rock solid people, maniacally focused on organic growth. And I mean maniacally focused, like I've never seen in the business before. So they brought a culture of performance to Alera Group, which tremendously helped our thinking. So why we're so excited and bullish about what's been going on is because we've been working hard at trying to get more of that Propel culture into more of that original Alera collaborative culture. And we believe together actually is better. So I had to make sure I put a plug in for my other partners that have been in that area as well.
Everybody won, and it all came together, and now they're part of it. And like you said, they brought a culture to the table that was more organic. That obviously each party learns from other. I think probably your biggest role right now, Jim, is organic growth, and integration, right? 100%. So you stepped into this at the beginning of the year, and maybe you knew this was exactly what you were going to do. Listen, I can't think of a better guy that would accept this challenge. I know you're very competitive. I know you like to win. You've always been a great leader. Bostonian was a high quality firm, Jim. Everyone in the country knew who you were and what you were, even though you're East Coast based. But you built one of the best EB firms in the country, and was always highly respected and regarded. And becoming your friend over the years, not just your advisor, being partners in this thing. I'm very proud of the position that you're in right now, what you've done in your career. You should be very proud of yourself and your partners at Bostonian, what you went through with MMA, how you really did a good job there for them, and now Alera. So your story is pretty awesome, Jim.
Well, listen, I thank you. That's kind of you to say. I'm going to say exactly what you expect me to say. It's a team game, and without my partners and without colleagues, it just nothing would work, right? That's going back to Bostonian Group. That's my friends at MMA, of which I still have many over there. And it's obviously here at Alera Group. And the job is just starting. In this chapter, we should feel really good about chapter 1, which is getting it off the ground. Chapter 2, which was coming together with Propel for that recap in 2021. And frankly, then leadership teams coming together, getting to know each other, trying to figure out how is it that they're so good at organic growth? What is it that we bring to the table that's our special sauce, our magic sauce, if you will? How do we do the importing and the exporting between the offices within the company to do better and better? And you're right, we are focused on that, but I have to say, the job is not done yet. And so we've got a lot to work, but we're excited.
What people probably don't know is this evolved from the Benefit Advisory Network, and now you own that, right?
We did, but I just want you to know that they bought themselves out, so they're now independent again.
Okay, because that was interesting to me because you had 24 firms that made it, but there was like 70 firms in it. So you had kind of a built-in pipeline too when you started. The feeding ground to try to pick up more than those. But the thing that's interesting about Alera is, although they started really from the benefits side, with mostly almost 150 million of revenue was benefits. Now I think you're more P&C than you are benefits. Is that still accurate?
We are slightly larger on the P&C side than we are on the benefits. It's kind of a competition between the two teams. But right now, P&C is up by a couple of points. And then we have a very strong financial services practice as well, a wealth practice. And those guys are performing extremely well last couple of years as well. So those are our three main practice groups.
And Jim, if you look at Alera today,
yep.
Right, and this is kind of a M&A 101 question, but what's your greatest strength, you think, right now, and what do you think your greatest weakness is, and what are you going to do to try to continue to feed off your strength and fix your weaknesses?
Yeah, look, obviously important question, right? We talk about this, think about this all the time, and we maintain that our greatest strength is the people that came together to get this off the ground and the people that have continued to make it successful year after year. We're in a people business out. Like, you have to start there. And it's the mindset of people that want to be together, right? And they share a vision, they share excitement, they share the ups and the downs together. So what we talked about with whether people that we're trying to hire or whether firms that we're trying to acquire is get to know us, like get to know our people. If you're a firm in the Midwest, you got to talk to some of our Midwest partners. If you're on the West Coast, same thing. Boom, just like connect with our folks. So again, I always start with, it really is our people and the brand of what is important to them. All right. So what I'll add to that is it's a very sharing, a very collaborative environment. So I have not had anyone ever tell me, I was trying to look for something and I know like the Chicago office has it, but I called them and I can't seem to get their attention. Everybody picks up the phone. Everybody's like, oh, wow, which office are you with? Oh, what are you looking for? And they'll do their very best to help that person. And that's how things become tighter. And then that's where we get out of our own four walls. Your friend Mark Engler talks about this all the time, how the only barrier to our success is not going outside of our four walls. So we have a ton of services, and look, there's almost nothing you can come to us with when it comes to insurance, risk, and financial services that we can't handle. It's a matter of where is it best going to be served. So I think about the model itself and the delivery of those models. Our service people put them up against anybody. You talked about challenges, and the challenge, without doubt, is bringing over 200 organizations together. And why that is so challenging is because more to do with systems and foundation and data, and whether you're talking AMS or whether you're talking data lake or whether you're talking benefit point versus a Xywave database, all of those things take a lot of work to bring them together. The fortunate thing is that all of our firms that have come on board, we integrate the financials right away, HR, marketing, and benefits and things of that nature. So all that stuff's great. But what we're working on now is really bringing our systems together, our regional structure. We're trying to fine tune our regional structure, which we started a few years ago. that is something we're looking to make progress on every day.
It's fair to say, Jim, that I think it's really hard to integrate these things. And I don't think anybody's going to ever be 100% integrated. I would think that probably Pat Gallagher and Hyatt Brown would tell you that as long as they've been doing it, are they fully 1,000% integrated? It's difficult because you're bringing people together. And you said it best. And I laugh, and we talk about it all the time over here, that every third insurance broker you talk to now has the best technology. Oh, we got this greatest technology, and we're going to do this. And I said, well, are you a tech guy? And they said, no, we're insurance guys. But, people tell me they'll give me 30 to 50 million for this tech. And I said, well, why don't you do it? Oh, that's a lot of money. And, because I said, is it even working on your own business yet? And that's the key. They all have this tech, and it's the greatest tech, but, well, it's getting there. I said, if it doesn't work on your own business, how can I tell anybody? So I never believe that this industry will get away from the relationships, no matter how good the technology gets, no matter anything. I've been hearing this for 20-something years, 37 years doing it, and I still believe that, as you say, people buy people. This is a relationship business. Your insurance broker, although nobody loves insurance, you have to have it. Necessary evil, is a very important person, especially to some of the businesses that you guys, have to insure. It's a lot of premium. It's a lot of money to them. I see it the way you see it. It's all about people. And yes, I agree with you that Alera's greatest strength is the people that you brought together and started this thing, and, the leadership and everything else. And everyone's weakness is trying to get to that golden place where it's fully integrated, where that cross-sell is humming from all these people you're bringing together. And that's really what it's about.
I agree. And look, we are very interested in technology. Our tech department's doing some really cool things. We're interested in AI. We're working a little bit with it. We've got a few projects going on. The basics right now, what we keep talking about every day, are organic growth, which is, and you know this, it's new business, but it's also retention. It's, making sure your existing clients are happy with what you're doing. It's checking in on them. It's making maybe that take the time to take them out to lunch. It's this need to make sure that we bring the human interaction. COVID was tough for a lot of reasons. We could spend hours on that. But one thing I think it did to our industry is that it took us a little bit further away from our clients. We got to return to our clients. We got to get back in front of our clients. Some of our people never lost a beat, and they just did it. But a lot of our people kind of pulled back, and we're really talking a lot about that and trying to figure out how to incent more of that type of connection.
No, it makes perfect sense. It kind of, and all this acquiring and integration and collaboration and everything else, the thing that seems to be getting lost is the client a little bit. And that's the one thing that you can't. If you lose the clients, you lose what your core is, and really it comes back to the clients. Without the clients, you don't have much of anything, right? Listen, it's a great evolution what's happened in this industry. You have put yourself in a position with a great company. I'm proud to be involved with Alera and yourself. We're going on, 17 years here, Jim, and I feel like I know you since we were kids. Who you feel your greatest competition is? I mean, at your size, you're still very middle market.
We talk about competition all the time. Here's the truth. This is the honest truth. We have thousands of competitors. We compete. It all depends on the relationship that client has. That client might be working with a small agency that's right around their corner, or they might be working with one of the much larger agencies that you and I see every day. So we really, statistically, do not feel like we have a competitor or even a small number of competitors. We have tons of them. But you are correct. We are largely, I would call it, middle market, and a ton of small business as well, which we love. What's been really cool about bringing all of these firms together is and we track this very closely, our average revenue per account has been going up consistently. We have been acquiring or selling, if you will, closing, whatever word you like, larger size accounts. So we have tons of producers who doubled their blocks of business inside of just a few years. Why? Because they have better tools and services, and they're willing to go after a larger client that they might have been reluctant to go after before.
It's actually a great answer, Jim, because, you when you get with bigger, there's more resources to go up market. And a lot of the folks that you acquire, they don't have that ability on their own. And
Right.
it's great to hear, a lot of people do these things and they're not just the way these deals are structured. It's that you just don't take your money and go fishing. You have an ability to really create more value, not just the principals, but the key producers and people. And, that points of interest I referenced, can get some of those people aligned. So Alera's done some really cool things. So you're seeing what's going on in the market. And I think you're positioned very well to do what you want to do. And I think you'll have that optionality. I really believe it. I think you got, smart people behind you, including yourself and the management team that you have here and a lot of the people you brought in to push this business to the next level. And, I'm happy that we can be a part of it, and I look forward to it. And I really look forward and I really appreciate the opportunity to have you here today.
Well, thanks so much for including me. It's great to see you on the video screen here. And I'm sure that we're going to be talking again soon. So have yourself a great day.
All opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and are not necessarily those of Sica Fletcher. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as professional advice. Sica Fletcher employees and clients may have positions in the firms discussed in this podcast. Any information provided is subject to change and does not constitute an offer to purchase or sell any financial product. Sica Fletcher LLC does not underwrite securities, nor advise on, nor affect transactions in securities for the account of others. For more information about your unique situation, please contact Sica Fletcher or visit us at www.sicafletcher.com.